Wow, this place is trashed. Well, I guess we're pretty set. I guess Scott gave me some directions. So, take a look at what he has to say. Oh, a few directions. Oh, it's how to do all the spins. Great. So I can turn and turn and step and turn. You know, sometimes I think he's going to spin so much he's going to turn into a fairy. Oh, you're on? All right. You can edit that out, right? Okay. All right, well, I guess I'm ready to go here. Welcome to Martial Arts Explorer, exploring functional technique as revealed in classical martial arts of all styles. I'm Mike Kleinapierre. So the big question is, why am I in the studio? Well, we've had a few inquiries wondering when we're going to see Scott on the mat. And the opportunity presented itself in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. After 10 inches of snow, we finally made it to the Chosun Black Belt Academy, a Taekwondo school run by head instructor Joe Peterson. But before we get to Scott, we're on to Senior Master Instructor Chris Thomas to teach a lesson on back stance.
I want to start out with back stance, whatever you call it. So do me a favor, just jump up, get into a left leg forward back stance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So when you hit a back stance, your feet are in a straight line, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's actually wrong. Now, right. So the reason that it's done that way is mostly because when you're when you're talking to a group of people and you're trying to explain to them how to posture themselves or how to stand, you just go, okay, your weight's on your back leg, and you sort of describe it in this sort of generic terms. Back foot points that way, front foot points that way. You know, you're kind of lined up like this. And then what happens over time is that certain postures look better than others. So crouch down for a second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First, I'm going to show you sort of a typical back stance. Well, here's a fairly common version of back stance. There we go. Oh, please don't take a picture of this. Okay, does this look fairly typical?
Yes, sir.
This looks to you like a okay back stance?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's really bad. So watch what I'm going to do. Here's the first thing I'm going to do. Look at my back foot. I turned it in. Now, watch me take my front foot. I push it out, and notice I turn my heel out just a little bit, and now. Can you see the difference between those? And I don't mean how it looks. I mean, can you see that I'm actually more stable? Can you see that I'm actually stronger?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So here, I'm actually weaker than I am when I'm here. So that means this is correct. This is prettier. Some of you are blue belts, green belts. For you guys, pretty's okay. But if you're a black belt, strong is better. So, but if you have no reason for it, then you have no need. It doesn't matter if it's pretty or strong. It doesn't matter. So we want there to be a reason. So I'm going to give you a really, really simple reason. Very simple. Body. It's what we were doing with the kids. So I figured you should probably know this because a whole bunch of green belts and yellow belts just learned this an hour ago. And you don't want them knowing more than you. Let me just show you something really simple. Guy grabs me. Do you ever ask, what is a back stance for? Like, why would I do a back stance? Do you ever ask that question? Like, why? Never, no. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Knife hand is done in a back stance. Why? Because knife hand is done as a back stance. Here's back stance for you. Now, if I'm in a straight line and I stand like this, I'm very unstable and weak. But notice where I put my foot. See how it's behind his and we're actually touching? And I turn this in, this actually gives me a little bit of control. I'm going to kick this over where it belongs. Now, this hand comes over. This is my chop hand. But do you see how I've unbalanced him with this very simple action? So this is the actual meaning of this movement and why it's in a back stance. This comes, I go, whoa. I step here. I control this because I don't want it to get away, and I hit here, and he falls over my leg. This leg is to stand on. This leg is for him to trip over. I need to be able to do this with my body as I strike. But I need this to be strong so he can fall over it. The thing is, if I hit the pressure point, I don't need the stance because he'll fall over on his own. But if I miss the pressure point, I need the stance so that when his body is unbalanced, he trips. So the stance is there for a reason. So here's how we're going to practice this. First, I'm going to walk, I'll tell you how the stance is done. I'll have you stand up and do the stance. I'm going to show you everything that you're going to do because this is a kind of a big group. Then you're going to do it. Then you're going to try it with partner. Then we're going to come back and do it again without partner and see if you can kind of reconnect movement to application to movement. Okay, so here's what I'm going to have you do. First, I'm going to have you stand up. Don't do it yet. I'm going to describe everything first.
Yes, sir.
You're going to line it up, not so your feet are in line, but so they're actually about 1/2 to the length of one of your own feet apart this way, so it's actually a wider stance. You have the front foot turned in ever so slightly, not a lot, not, just a teeny bit. In fact, a way to think about it is maybe point your little toe straight forward. Your big toe will be angled in a little bit. Do the same thing with the back foot. Maybe point your little toe off to the side. There's a little bit of width here. Then I'm going to have you put the knife hand posture up, but I'm going to have you do this. See this rotation? What I'm doing is I'm rotating, but it's almost like I'm sitting down onto my back leg as I rotate. And as I do that, I'm going to squeeze this muscle group right here. I squeeze, so I don't think out or sideways. I actually think slightly back, almost like I'm pulling. This is going to be a good practice. In fact, I think we'll have you practice this where you grab each other and you can pull a little bit. And you'll see how this connects, the legs connect. All right, so start by standing up.
Yes, sir.
You're facing this direction. So put your right leg forward, left leg back. Look down to see that your feet are not in line, but in fact you're a little wide. Point your right foot, your front foot, so the little toe is maybe pointing straight forward. That puts your big toe pointing at a slight angle. Do the same thing with your back foot. Your little toe maybe points towards the wall over there. That means your big toe turns at an angle. You can actually turn it in more if you want, whatever works. Sink down back, so your weight is towards the back leg. Put your hands out in that knife hand posture. And then just kind of turn and settle into your hips a little bit. Just kind of turn and back, turn and back. And then pretend you're grabbing onto something and kind of pull. And as you pull, you're sort of pushing with your front foot a little bit. Do you kind of feel that? Like you're pushing back a little? Try that a couple times. I want to see how you're doing. Okay. Now, sit down and wait, I'm sorry. Let's do that with the left leg. Same thing. You got to be even, right? Boom. So remember, it's a little bit of width. The feet are not, it's almost like they're toed in just a little bit. Your weight's back. Put that hand out, just kind of rotate. When I rotate, I'm not moving my arms. I'm only rotating my body. My hand moves because my body is moving, not because I'm moving my hands. Then you can get a feeling almost like you're pulling a little bit, pulling a little bit, pulling. Okay, so crouch down for a second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see, where's Sifu Joe? Joe? Can you get into a back stance for me? Pick left leg, right leg, I don't care. Okay, so he's in a good back stance. I'm going to get in a good back stance. We're going to put these up, and then we're going to very gently press. Now the object is not a contest, because if we're in equal good back stances, he wins. All right? But what we're going to do is I'm going to press, and then he's going to press, and then I'm going to press. He's going to press. I press. He presses, good. And then I'm going to grab. He's going to grab. Then I pull a little bit. Pull, then he pulls. I pull, he pulls. Okay? That's it. That's a very simple exercise. But as you do this, remember, not a contest. When you first press this way, think about this back leg. When you pull, think about the front leg. Feel how your legs are controlling your body. Try that.
Yes, sir.
Huh, back stance. Who knew? Well, I guess actually Master Thomas did. Anyway, it's a great opportunity for us to be here at the Chosun Black Belt Academy as head instructor Joe Peterson introduces new ideas in form interpretation to his students. Scott helps out by covering the use for a middle counter. And now, you finally get to see Scott in action.
We are at the Chosun Black Belt Academy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mr. Peterson is the head instructor here, and he's been kind enough to let us come in, teach a little bit. And now we're going to work with the class. And here's the important point. What we're trying to show here is that form interpretation isn't specific to any given style. No matter what style you're in, you can interpret forms in the ways that we talk about and get something valuable for self-defense out of it. Today, we're going to look at a piece of a form done here at the Chosun Black Belt Academy that has a middle counter in it and a stepping punch. Pretty simple stuff. A lot of times folks like to think of these as blocks. We tend to think of them as counters because we think they can do more than just block. All right? Mr. Peterson, could you come in, please? Now, what we're going to concentrate on is first a technique or a type of attack often men use against women. And it's usually a cross-handed grab to the bicep, above the elbow. If you get below the elbow, you aren't going to use this technique, you'll use something else. But what we're going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is squeeze tight on the hand. I'm going to bring my arm up in this motion and capture that hand. Then I'm going to turn out and look what it does to the body. Now, dependent on the distance between me and the opponent, I can either punch if I can reach, but I really can't reach him too well. So I'm going to step in. I'm going to blast him right here. Okay? And I'm going to punch halfway between the hip and the armpit straight into the ribs. That's just a nice tender spot. And oftentimes that is enough to dissuade an attacker. We like that a whole bunch. So one more time. We're grabbed. Make a muscle like you're on the beach. Use your body weight to turn him out. Step in and strike. Okay? Very simple technique, and it's a neat way to look at a middle counter. Thank you very much. Let's get the class together and give it a try. Okay, guys, we're working on a middle counter today. It's very simple. Middle counter, stepping punch. Correct? Okay. We're going to use a cross-handed grab to the bicep, the upper arm above the elbow. This is really common for men to do to women. All right? So as he's grabbed here, all I'm going to do is make a muscle and capture his hand. My foot on the same side steps out and I turn my hips. Look what happens to the body. There it is. There's my punch. Okay? If I'm too far away, I can step in and punch. If I'm really close, I don't have to step. You can ignore the step at that point. Yes, sir. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anybody need to see it again?
No, sir. No, sir.
Outstanding. Go to it. Yep, and then throw the punch underneath it. It doesn't have to, well, he's going to try to bend to alleviate some of the pain potentially in the wrist. But capture that hand. You really want that hand held tight. See? Yep. Up, pull it in tight as you can. Now turn their body. Boom. See how it moves hers? Good work. Okay, everyone, take a seat real quick. I want to show you something. Mr. Peterson, could I use you again? Everyone's doing a pretty good job, but I want to make sure of something here. One thing, and we all love to do this, and partly because of the way we learn forms, we want to do this. We want to bring this up and just whip it, okay? In this particular application, you don't have to. Just make a muscle and capture his hand in your arm. Make that muscle. Now, lock everything, shoulders, lats, everything, and when I step out, I turn with my whole body mass. That helps you move a bigger person, okay? I don't want to just try to do it with my arm. I don't have enough rotation, and I'm going to lose it at some point. But if I do it with my whole body, now he's going to move, and now I've got my strike. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Please try that.
Yes, sir.
One more time.
Yeah. Grab hold of him.
Good and tight. Okay.
And, I think I can help. We're going to improve you. Go ahead, grab him. Now, bring this up in a middle counter form with the palm in.
Oh, yes,
and
sir.
squeeze this as tight as you can. Now, rotate him out. Boom. Does his body move a little better for you and open up better? That's what we're after.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've looked at a simple way to handle a middle counter, or a simple way to use a middle counter. We've captured the attacker in the crook of our arm. We've squeezed very tightly this way. We've turned them out and delivered our strike. If they're further away, we step in and strike. It's that simple. And you can see that it's effective as smaller people can move bigger people. Couple of things to remember. Squeeze the hand tight. This isn't this move, it's this move. It's a small difference, but it makes a big difference in application. So in your form, you do it the way the form does it. But when you're thinking about interpreting the form, you do it this way. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Thanks for being with us. I'll send it back to Mike.
Hey, who would have thought the big guy could move so well on the mat? Thanks to Joe Peterson and the Chosun Black Belt Academy of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And as always, thanks for joining us. Remember to practice safe, and we're not responsible for any injuries or accidents that happen. For Martial Arts Explorer and Scott Combs, I'm Michael Kleinepeer. You got all that? Because what is that smell around here? I don't know what it is, what he's been doing in here, but that's it. I am staying in the dojo.